Today's celery recipe is a chilled celery soup. It's super easy to make and what just happened? It's super delicious, especially on a summer day. That's what I meant to say. All right, forgive me, I'm not perfect. All right, okay, so here I have 6 cups of sliced celery that's been washed already, 4 cloves of garlic that is smashed. I have 1 small leek that I've rinsed already, and I'm gonna slice into little thin slices. 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 medium potato. This will help thicken our soup to give it a nice consistency without using cream or flour. So this can be, for all intents and purposes, it could be celiac friendly. And then I have 2 cups of chicken stock and 3 cups of water. I also am using, for this specific recipe, half a teaspoon of celery salt, but you could easily use regular salt for that. So what I'm gonna do here is just start by thinly slicing my garlic. And same thing with my leeks here. They don't need to be perfect either, overly uniform. Okay, so those are sliced. My celery's already chopped. We just need to peel this potato. Same thing, thin slices with my potato here. And we're gonna add that in a little bit later on. Okay, so set that aside. What we'll need first is the celery, garlic, and leeks and butter. So medium-high heat. I add my butter into my sauce pot, stock pot, soup pot. This is a very large pot, but it's the only one I have appropriate for the job, so you do not need to use a pot this big. This is just me being me, you know? What can I tell you? So, gonna melt that butter in there. It'll take a minute, and you don't want it to brown or anything. The idea is that we want this soup to be nice and bright, bright and green, and that's why I try to look for the dark green celeries in the grocery store. The celery that's a bit more pale or yellow generally has, excuse-moi. Wow. All right, add the celery, add the leeks and garlic. All right, a little stir. And I add my celery salt at this stage. And a few twists of black pepper. Stir. What we're looking for here at this stage is just to soften the vegetables. We don't want to cook them or caramelize them by any means. We just want to soften them so they just break down, they toast up, they get a bit of that, a little bit of that rich flavor that you get from doing searing and in the butter. All right, so after about 5 minutes, I'll add in my stock, my water, and my potato. All right, so we're about there now. As you can see here in the pot, the celery is quite translucent. It's very vibrant in color. That is the stage we want to get to. That very translucent, softened stage. So it's not cooked at all, but that's the stage we want to go to before we add in now our potato. And our chicken stock and our water. Now those are added in, and now we're just gonna let this have a bath on a medium heat, basically a nice steady simmer, so that it's warm enough to actually cook the celery for about 35 to 45 minutes. It's important to not cook it for too long because it can oxidize the color. The color can really change, and they'll start to look kind of army green, not so pleasant color and look. So we want to keep this nice vibrant color. That's very important to this dish. So I find about 30 minutes, we get really, really close, and around 35 to 40 minutes, we're pretty much there. So you do want to watch that so that way it doesn't become unappetizing looking, and it stays nice and vibrant. So we'll let that go for about 35 minutes. All right, so our celery soup here is done. It's cooked. Nice tender celery is what we're looking for, not overcooked, not like paste. And now what we're gonna do is blend it. So you'll need a good high power blender. I have a Ninja smoothie blender that seems to do pretty good. And then a mesh sieve or strainer that will help make it a nice smooth puree. Don't get crazy with seasoning things right now because we're gonna chill the soup, and flavors change dramatically when the soup is chilled, or any product when you eat it cold. So we wanna wait till it's chilled before we adjust seasoning. So right now, just blend, strain, and then we will throw it into the fridge for a couple hours. Okay. All right, how does this work? Oh, no, not that way. All right, let's try this again. Oh, no. Oh, oh. Okay, oh no, wait. It even has arrows here to tell me. Plug your ears. All right, so let it buzz for a couple minutes here on high power. You want it to be fairly smooth in texture. Now I know you can't really see it here, but you see it's like a smooth blended soup, smooth soup, nice smooth soup. That's exactly what you want. You don't want it too gritty or gritty at all. You just want it nice and smooth. And then we'll run this through the strainer here. In batches, you don't want to overload the strainer. And here's a little tip to pass through the strainer quicker. You just use your ladle, the back of your ladle or a spoon, and just push it through. So this here is exactly what we're looking for. Just a nice light soup, you know, not too thick, not like a cream soup. Again, there is no cream in here. It's slightly thickened from the one potato that we added in there. So nice and light, very light and fresh. And again, we're not gonna adjust the seasoning at this point. We're gonna let it cool down completely first, and then we'll adjust the seasoning with some acid, maybe some white wine vinegar or lemon juice, and some salt and pepper. But this is what we were looking for consistency-wise. It should be nice and smooth like that. So we'll let it chill now, and we'll report back to duty in about a couple hours. Our celery soup is completely chilled now, and now it's time to do the final adjustment of the seasoning before we serve it. So as you can see, from when we've chilled it, from when I showed you once we blended it, it's thickened up quite nicely. It's a really beautiful consistency. It's exactly what we are looking for. That nice kind of creamy looking soup without cream being in it at all. It's completely dairy free at this point. So that's the exact consistency we're looking for. That is a really good result. And now we just need to adjust the seasoning. So what's most important is knowing what you need to adjust. There's two things that we want to look for at this stage, and that's the saltiness and the acidic level. So we want a nice balance of those, because that will make it taste much more fresh. And so when I taste it right now, it's lacking both completely. So I'm gonna use white wine vinegar. You could use lemon juice as well, or apple cider vinegar. They help spruce things up quite a bit. And I might just do 2 tablespoons here. Actually, let's start with 1. That's 1 tablespoon. And a good pinch of kosher salt. So we're just gonna thin this out. Okay, so I'm gonna taste the soup again here. So from when I first tasted it to the second taste, it's a completely different soup. So even those slight adjustments make a large difference. And if I could teach you one thing on seasoning, start small, taste, and make adjustments. And when you're happy with the result, then you've achieved what you're looking for. That is the best way that I could ever teach seasoning. It's very hard for me to say use a teaspoon of this and it'll be perfect, because everyone's taste is so much different. So the best thing I could say or suggest ever when finishing soups and sauces and salads, whatever, especially in a bulk format, just start small and add to it. You can always add, but it's very hard to take away. So that was 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. We're gonna add 1 more tablespoon and another good pinch of salt. Give it a nice stir again. Okay, so here we go. That's it there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I hope it's exactly what you've looked for there. In total, that was about 2.5 tablespoons of white wine vinegar and probably a tablespoon of salt, kosher salt. So now we're gonna plate this up and we're gonna serve it. So we got the 3 ladles of celery soup in there, and now we're just gonna finish it off. Here I have a little creme fraiche, or you could use sour cream or just whipped cream. Put a nice healthy dollop in the middle. Now if you're keeping this dairy free, please do not do that part. That will ruin it for you. And here I have a little bit of celery salt. You don't need to do this, but of course it makes a great garnish on the soup. So I just sprinkle a little celery salt on it, and of course a couple celery leaves. And this is a cuvee olive oil. I don't know what that means, but it's really nice, and I tasted it at my local farmer's market. And so I just add that in there. And this is our chilled celery soup with creme fraiche, celery salt, and cuvee olive oil, whatever that means. So, to wrap this up, celery is not boring. We made it 3 ways that are extremely exciting and different from ways that you traditionally see it. I encourage you to take these principles with you and change them up next time. Change the ingredients a little bit, play around, and have some fun. But definitely try these recipes. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Cheers.